I am a mindset coach. And I believe that mindset, if you can change your mind, you have the power to actually change your life. And that belief for me actually kind of reminds me of elementary school. I can literally picture my classroom right now. There is this big green chalkboard, couple bullet boards, and then of course the desks where all their names were, these little tiny desks. I even remember the students in my classroom. There were the bullies and the class clowns, and the teacher always kind of set them in the back, so they wouldn't distract the rest of the room. There was always that popular kid, that sat next to the smart kid, if you know what I mean. And the smart kid was always raising their hand. They had the answer to everything. There was even that little kid that sat in the corner all alone, was kind of awkward. No one ever really spoke to that kid. I also have some very fond memories of my teachers. Miss Mastic was my 5th grade teacher, and she was really, really cool, a lot of fun, edgy, but mostly she was very kind. On the contrary, I had a teacher by the name of Miss Miller, and Miss Miller was very mean. She kind of talked like this, big lady. She never had any control over the classroom whatsoever. Everybody was always talking at the same time when Miss Miller was in the room. Now it was interesting that once in a while we would get this observer that would come into the classroom, and they would sit in the back and just listen and watch us all. And it was interesting for the teachers because they always prepared us when the observer was coming in the room. And even Miss Miller's classroom was under control when the observer was watching. Now you're probably asking, what does this have to do with mindset in your life? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because this classroom that I'm describing is a metaphor to your mind. We all have a classroom. And the students that I'm talking about are actually your thoughts. All these little thoughts that are running around your classroom. And ironically, the biggest thinker in the room is the teacher. So who is the teacher? Well, that's each and every one of you here. It is your identity construct. It is your character. It is who you have told yourself that you are. It's how you show up in the world. It is your ego. It is you as human. And the teacher often thinks that it is control over the room. It thinks it's in control of all the other thoughts. But that's until the teacher gets distracted and has to leave the room. And when the teacher leaves the room, the students are watching because there's a window in the classroom. And the students start talking. And they all start talking at once, and they start to talk over one another. And when the teacher realizes that the classroom is out of control, the teacher then comes back. But as the teacher tries to silence the room, it realizes it can't even hear its own voice. And then the teacher realizes that she no longer has control of her classroom. The classroom is the mind, and therefore you've lost your mind. But that's until the observer comes back into the room. Now, before I describe who the observer is, I want you all to think about this. I want you to take the role of the observer and think about who you are. Just sit quiet for a moment and listen to your teacher talk to you. Tell you about your life, who you say that you are. Can you hear it? The voices?
Yeah.
So if you know that you are the teacher, it's your identity, it's you as human, then in this moment, what was it that was listening? It's the observer, of course, right? So if you are human, and the observer is listening and watching, then it is the being. And when you realize that there is the human, you as the human, and then you as the being, you realize that you are not the being, and the being is not you. That there is a separation, and you are not your thoughts, and your thoughts are not your being. And when you get that, that's when transformation occurs. And you go from human being to being human. Woo! And when you put that first in your life, you begin to realize that the being, the listener, the watcher, some call it spirit, some call it soul, God, universe. When you get that the being is present and always watching, the teacher then becomes aware. And when there is awareness, the classroom becomes mindful. And what happens is then the teacher knows that it's time to rearrange the room. And it says to the bullies, you, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of not belonging, I need you three to get over here with positivity, love, compassion, and forgiveness. And those thoughts are going to have a conversation with you. And you, sabotager and procrastinator, I want you to come and sit with determination, creativity, and focus. And those thoughts are going to talk to you. And the little one in the back, fear, forgive me. Because I didn't know that you were speaking and I wasn't listening. And I want you to come with me because I realize now that you have special needs. And I am going to help you with those needs. So when I say to you that you change your mind, rearrange your classroom, the classroom is the mind, you have the power to change your life. Thank you.